Right. Well, looks like we got a good amount of people here now, so we can go ahead and get started here. Thanks for everyone for joining our next webinar. Today, our goal is to go over reporting, AI, how to make sure that you get data clarity and you can use AI to do that, building trustworthy data, trustworthy reports, and ultimately setting a good foundation for your AI to sit on top of. Let's get it into it here. So, who are we? We are Nimble. We are a software company, a software consulting company, sorry. We have over collectively 20 years of experience kind of building applications, enterprise solutions. We started in the data migration realm and kind of rose into low code, no code, and now into AI app gen, where our goal the whole time has been how do we get the greatest quality to our customers, solving business problems in the quickest way possible. Low code was that for a long time. Now moving into AI app gen and using the best of all technologies out there to get you guys the best and fastest solve to your problems. So today we'll have two presenters. Myself, I'm the head of sales engineering here at Nimble. And joined with me is my co-presenter, Andros Haggins, and he is our AI engineer, kind of leading our AI engineering teams out of Lexington, Kentucky. Perfect. So what are our goals for you today? So today we're mostly talking through how do you get reporting and dashboards using plain English. Right now, a lot of dashboards are built via business analysts who have to go in and expect exactly what you want and build that for you, and you're kind of stuck with that. But if you ever want to deviate from that, you're likely pulling down into Excel sheets, doing it on your own, and then no one else has access to that, or maybe the numbers are wrong. Human error goes a long way. And our goal is to ensure that we can utilize AI and utilize plain English to give you the best reports, the most accurate data, and get you everything that you need from a dashboard. And so that's where the dashboards on demand come in, where instead of asking AI every single time for the same things over and over and over again, you actually just build the dashboards using your plain English as well. So if it's something you know you need to come back to on a weekly, monthly, or even daily basis, you can build those for yourself or for your team or for the executive team. Have that ready to go, to share, to use, and to come back to. And then ultimately showcase how do you build something that actually allows the AI to be trustworthy? How do you build something where your AI answers, your business users can trust the data that's coming back from it and trust that it's backed by definitions, it's backed by a data glossary of business context so that the AI knows your business instead of just knowing random terms? That's really what we're going to get into today. And ultimately, you'll walk out with a really good understanding of how AI and reporting can merge together. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my co-presenter here, Andros Haggins, who's going to show us exactly what that looks like.
Thank you, Zach. So there's three capabilities that I'm going to show you today. The first one is the ability to talk with your data in plain English, just like Zach said. And then the second one is going to be building out our dashboards. Maybe in the past, we all know what a dashboard is, but you would have to go to an analyst, you would have to consult them, you would have to tell them what they want, and then they would have to build it out. What we're going to show you is a little bit different in having the ability for you to build out the data. And then the third thing that we just want to talk about is that this is about bringing your data to you and allowing you to access it and have a conversation with it that makes sense to you. But this could be brought into Slack, Teams, your app, anywhere where you're at. So for today, we're going to show you an app. Um, and I think for that, I think without all that said, let's just jump into it right now. And I can go ahead and get into it because that's the fun part, right? Okay. So I'm gonna start us off here on the metrics. So for your metrics, this is something that we're all familiar with. This is probably where you're gonna have your KPIs. This is a bit of a configuration page. So here we can kind of see this is what our active products are. Maybe we already have a query because we already have our KPIs. So we could add that query here or we could just go create one from scratch if we wanted to. And this is going to kind of ground the AI and maybe how you query your active products or how you get your total units sold, your total order of revenue, so on and so forth. You can keep adding to these. Now, this doesn't mean that the AI has to only have these definitions, and you're going to see that when we get into other functionalities. The AI can create its own query, but if you have a system where you know this is the query that I like for this KPI, this is where it allows you to configure it, and then you can kind of see the results from here in this dashboard preview tab. Um, Now, in the dashboard preview tab, this is just for you to kind of see exactly these definitions that you had. You'll be able to see your total order of revenue, inventory value, just kind of confirmation that everything's kind of coming through. But let's get into the other part, which is chat. So on this chat page, on the left-hand side, you're going to see your previous conversations and where you could start up a new chat. In this middle section here, you're going to see, well, what data source do I want to talk to? And it could be all of them. Let's say you have multiple ones and you need to get reporting from all of them. You could do that. For the purpose of this demo, though, I'm going to stick with Northwind demo. And then down here, we're going to see our suggested questions. So let's say I just keep asking the same thing to the AI. It can learn that and then kind of build out these suggested questions sections for me as like a quick way for me to navigate there. But I could also just type in my question here. In the suggested questions, we have like, what are our quick answers? Maybe we'd want to see trends over time or comparisons, drill down into a specific product or look for any outliers. I think for this one, I'm going to do what is my total revenue across all my orders? So now the AI is going to start thinking. It's going to query our database. And Zach's going to get into more detail on how everything works. But as the AI processes this, then we get the result. So now we get a nice little card here that shows me my result. Um, And I can also see reasoning if I want. So if I want to know how is the AI even getting this? Did it just make up a number? Well, we can see here exactly how it went about getting this number. Additionally, if we wanted to, we could also see what SQL it ran. So this is just more about building that trust factor and being able to see how is the AI getting to this result. Now, you also see we have a confidence score here. Let's say you always ask a question and it's just not giving you the results that you would like. Well, then maybe for that question, we turn that into a metric so that the AI learns and can build better confidence in being able to answer that question. So it kind of all ties back to that metrics that we saw. Additionally, I could build a report off of this conversation. So let's say I had a long running conversation. This probably isn't a perfect example because we only asked one question, but I could get a report that I could send out to my team here by just copying it to the clipboard. And then I get my executive summary, I get the key findings, methodology, data quality. So you can also see follow-up queries. So just like we had those suggested queries in the beginning, well, what would be a good follow-up query for these? And I could say, what is the revenue breakdown by month to see seasonal trends? Um, and this is again going to go back. It's going to also realize that, oh, we've asked about revenue before. So it's going to have that conversation history, and then it's going to come back and give us a result. I could also go back to previous conversations while this one is thinking if I wanted to. I could export this one to a PDF. So if we go back up here, I could also export the result to Excel to also share with my team. And we can see our result here. We get to see our breakdown, and then we also get a nice graph that it built out. Um, Again, we can see our SQL if we wanted to. So how did it get to this result? And then also our follow-up questions with that confidence score. So we could build another report from here if we wanted to. Or something that I really like about this application is if I'm doing something or I ask a specific question and I want that to be saved, well, I could save this to my knowledge base. So in the future, I get back an answer faster. And just to show that we could go back from previous conversations, this one I asked about, monthly order revenue, and it gave me a nice chart again. And we could go through all of these and kind of see. Um, the next feature that I want to get into moving away from chats is dashboards. I think we all know what a dashboard is, but a lot of the times you have to have someone kind of build out the dashboard for you. And here we have a breakdown of dashboards by department. So maybe we want operations and then our sales to have a different dashboard. I'm going to go into the sales one. Let's take a look at, I think, customer intelligence. So at the top, we get our top 10 customers by spend, a nice chart here, and then our average order value by industry. Very nice numbers, but I want to add to this. So I'm going to add a tile. Now, I could come in here and I could explain to the AI what kind of chart and what kind of data I would like to see. But I really want to show kind of how those metrics become powerful because if you add those metrics in, we now have a list of our metrics and we could build out a chart from this. I'm going to call this rev by prod. Good abbreviations. So we could build out a chart from this. This could just be a number, so that would be what metric is. This could be a table of information, or this could just be plain text that it writes out. So I'm going to add that tile. And because we already have that metric saved with that SQL, it's very fast to build these out. You can also rearrange these. You could, change the styling. You could drag and drop them, move them around however you wanted to. And then let's say you didn't want this, you could just delete it. And then you're done. And then you can go back, share this with your team. You could export this as a PDF. You could export it as JSON. And I'm allowed to do this because I'm an admin user. Typical users won't have the ability to adjust these. So now that you've seen kind of what's possible, I'm going to give this back to Zach so he can show you how this all comes together and how it works.
Perfect. Thank you, Andrews. Great demo here. Perfect. Get my screen back up here. So we just showed you how, but, or we showed you what, but how. How did it know? How did it know that revenue meant recognized revenue? Or how did it know to go and grab the revenue over time and to do the right queries to the data sources? How did it figure that out? And so our goal is to set this foundation for AI so it's never guessing and it always just knows. And the goal is not to give different answers every single time. We do know that AI is not what's called deterministic, meaning the same input doesn't always equal the same output. But our goal is to train the AI to not have the same input every single time, but still give very similar outputs every single time. And to do that, we have to build in data definitions so that the CFO asks whether it was the revenue last quarter, he gets the right answer versus the closed bookings this quarter, which technically is dollars and it's probably what sales might want to see, but it's not what the CFO wants to see. It's not the true recognized revenue that you want. And so, in order to ensure that your CFO trusts the data, we have to define what this means. We have to define to the AI what it means to you as closed deals. It's a closed deal. Sometimes certain percentages mean closed deals. Sometimes it's 90%, and the last 90 to 100% for some companies is just getting across the finish line and getting to that first meeting. But that needs to be defined so it understands your business. Recognized revenue is very easy and understandable for a lot of us, but we want to make sure that the AI ensures that it's correct every single time. And then we also don't want people just blending random data together to make the numbers that they want to see. You probably have heard and have seen, AI just mix up numbers in order to achieve the right result. And our goal is to combat that, is to make sure that that can't be possible by defining what we want to be possible. And so our goal is define it once. We're going to use that everywhere. We're going to use that same definition. The business user doesn't need to know what that definition is necessarily that we're defining to the AI. They need to know what it means to them. And we'll go through kind of what that looks like. So the whole mantra here, model once, answer it everywhere. We start with your data sources. We get all of your data together, we build into a data warehouse. And that could be coming from many, many different sources. Most companies aren't running off of one singular point of data, right? You may have Salesforce for your CRM, you may have NetSuite for your ERP, you may have some type of data warehouse already. You may have a custom database that's just sitting and has a lot of your data. So we can ideally pull all that together and make a cohesive data model around it and modeling around it, data definition around that, so that we could actually query these multiple different sources and combine the data together. After that, we're going to build our metrics. Just like Andros showed, we're going to make sure we define what revenue means, what NRR means, what's your win rate. And some of this is going to be built for you. AI can actually help define that for you, but it needs to be controlled and managed and reviewed by your business team. And ultimately, we need to make sure that we cover, let's say, at least 50% of your metrics. You do not need to define everything. You just need to really get it going and get it to a good point where the AI is starting to understand what these metrics mean and how things are calculated. And then ideally, we then put the dashboards and reports on top of that, your AI chat assistant, allowing your users to define their own dashboards and reports and build things that empower them to get the right data to the right users without having to download to Excel, go through the time and spend 8 hours just trying to get the CEO the most recent data points. Ideally, it's something that works for you, it works and makes your team more efficient. So with that, you change that definition once, it will change it on every dashboard and every AI response automatically. So if things ever change, which as you grow in your business, things do change, you want to make sure that there's one place to go back to, and then the entirety of your business gets the fruit of that. And I do want to mention and note that we're not expecting AI to be magic. The goal is that, or the before, if it's confusing, if you don't know the data points or you're just throwing AI at your data, then yes, it will start making things up. It's going to be confidently wrong in what data is pulling together. It is not a magical AI system that just immediately knows your data points, immediately knows your business. Right? Think about it as bringing on a business analyst to or a data analyst into your system, into your company. You need to train them. You need to tell them how things are. How you want your data to be defined. All these things, so that yes, then they can go and build these reports for you. And we're doing the same thing with AI. We're not just throwing AI at it. We're adding a foundational layer that allows AI to use it in a trustworthy and reliable manner. All right, perfect. So another demo. How does this actually look when we define metrics, when we build these models? What does that actually look like? So let's get into this dashboard again. And we're actually going to go through a couple of these other pages, like your data sources. Talked about data sources coming from Salesforce or from your data warehouses or wherever it may come from. We're going to connect to those directly. We're going to create these data points. And this is where it's a bit technical, right? This is where we would come in and help you get these data points in here. And, this is showcasing all those different data fields and everything that's in there. A lot of the times your business users don't actually see this side of things, but it is what is necessary. Once we get through that, we get all of your data sources connected. We then start modeling them together. And this isn't just modeling one data source at a time. This models your data and your data sources as if they are one large data source. Because we do want to build in relationships to other data sources like ERPs to CRMs, and how a CRM automatically makes something happen in an ERP, and we want to know how those connect together. And we do that by defining our data dictionary, our data glossary. And you'll see here we have a table. We have a description of this table. This is a light description. A lot of times they're a little bit more detailed or have some understanding, some business context into them. You define each column. Say, okay, what does this address mean? What does this company mean? Or maybe you have some type of column or a data point that doesn't exactly make sense. And we want to define that to the AI. We'll be able to even build synonyms for these columns, for these data points. So if someone calls company name, or maybe they're calling ARR something different, like recognized revenue, then we want to make sure to the AI that we tell them this is what other people may call this. And then ultimately, one of the questions we always get is, we don't really want AI to see this data point. And that's very, very important. We want to ensure that we have the control, especially with PII and data that is very sensitive to making sure no one sees it, and especially not AI, is we have the ability to just make it invisible. And what that does is it actually, at the lowest level, we just do not allow the AI to ever query that column. It never knows it exists, and it cannot be like hacked into doing that. It can't. I can't ask the AI go find this column that I know is there and pull it back. Go get the security, social security numbers of this people. It's not possible for the AI to get it because we've extracted it all the way down to the lowest level. We're also going to define relationships, especially between data sources and how those work. Define any metrics that normally come up with these different tables. Ultimately, you'll get this overview that AI is going to come in and review. After that, we define our business glossary. We define what it means to be this business. Who are you? What are your target markets? What industry are you in? What workflows and operations do you normally go through that people may be talking about or asking about? And any other additional context that you may want to just add to the AI, things you may tell a new hire when they get onboarded. And then we'll actually define all of these different terms to the AI. So you may have different things that you call recognized revenue, or when you're talking about a person, what does that mean? A person equals an employee, or an employee equals a person. Simple things like that, but also more complex things that everyone here can think of some terminology that probably doesn't relate to any other company out there. And we want to make sure that AI understands that. So that's where we add your term. And then lastly, we talked about that knowledge base before when Andros was showing how to use the dashboards in the chat. And what that is essentially the AI getting better over time. We don't expect the AI to be 100% accurate right out of the gate. It's just not feasible. It's not something that makes sense, right? Just like you're not going to expect a new hire to be immediately correct about everything right out of the gate. Our goal is to get a very good confidence score, but it's also going to take testing and working and iteration over time to make sure that the answers get better and better and better. And ultimately, we learn from that and we train the AI from that. And we have these check boxes and thumbs up and thumbs down to make the AI better more and more over time. 95% of the time, we've defined it. If it's there, it's going to be correct. There are always going to be edge cases, and we want to make sure we cover those. Get verified answers from the business team, from from data analyst type people, from IT, about how data should be put together. And we do that using SQL pairs. We use that via query pairs, whatever it means to look at your data and understand that this is what this question answers and how you would maybe get this piece of data. And again, it looks like we're defining a lot and doing. This is just scratching the surface. This is just getting the AI pushed in the right direction to ensure it's going to be as accurate as possible. Don't have to define everything in your business from the get-go. Get it to a good point and let it go. And so our goal with this is to get a really good AI foundational layer, a good definition of your data, of your business, and allow it to start reporting on it. Allow your business users to empower themselves in order to get the best data they can. Perfect. Now we've seen kind of what is possible and how we kind of would build that. And it's a little technical back there, but I think the ultimate goal of getting a good foundational model to your AI is something that every company wants to get to, and we're helping people get to that point. And so if you are interested, we do have a free mapping workshop that we can set up. Just reach out and let us know. We'll go through, identify any data sources, what are your top 10 metrics that you want to use, and start building kind of your proof of concept plan in order to scope out what that looks like. After that, building it is pretty quick. You would think this was going to take 6 months. It's not. It's in the matter of weeks. And our goal is to get you something as soon as possible so you can start working through it and we can start training the AI more and more as time goes on. So if you are interested, let us know. You can email us and let us know from the webinar. So, perfect. But that was all the webinar content we have today. We're looking forward to answering any questions. If you have questions, there's a question and answer. Also, chat in the webinar chat here. If you have any questions or anything that you want to ask, please let us know. We'll answer them here live. And yeah, I appreciate everyone joining the webinar. You guys. Perfect. Looks like we already got a good question here. So the question was, our data is pretty messy right now. Half of our CRM is incomplete, and our Stripe data doesn't always match our billing system. How do we clean that up? Or should we clean that up first before doing anything? And the answer is yes and no. If it's data that we can manipulate and put all together and make sure the model is based on that, then we can kind of fix it as we go. But it does require good data in order to get good results, right? If you put bad in, you're going to get bad out type of answer. But we can work with you to try and ensure that we're getting the best data possible and making sure that kind of the CRM and everything link up together to give you that best information out. Perfect. All right. Another question here. How long does this process typically take? And the answer varies, but normally we can get a pretty good understanding of your data sources within a pretty with a 60-minute meeting and understand kind of where we're going to go. Then we play back to you after a week of what we think the process is going to be. And after we really get started, if all the data is there and we're ready to go, it doesn't take more than 6 to 8 weeks to get you a good experience going, to get some trainings, get some back and forth messages from you, and to build that model for you. And so you can really be kind of boots on the ground testing it within a month or two. Perfect. All right. Any last questions that we want to field? Anyone have any thoughts? You can post it in the chat. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone joining, and hopefully this was helpful into understanding, kind of how AI and reporting can work together, and how we want to make sure that AI is trustworthy, not just throwing AI at the problem. So I appreciate everyone joining, and we hope to see you at the next one.